on the 8th, the Little India riot started, and on the 13th, our Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Teo Chee Hean, she appointed the committee of inquiry into the Little India riot to find what's the main contribution factors of the Little India riot, and to evaluate how our home team affair handled the situation. So the COI is assisted by the Central Narcotic Bureaus, and they spoke to many forest workers, visited their site dorms, and submissions of evidence by the members of the publics, and they conduct public hearings in open courts, and this is the number of statements they go through and the number of evidence they go through, and they review the video footage. So after that, they concluded that the three main contribution factors of the whole riot is, the first one is misconceptions, misperceptions about the incident and the response, because the officer, they escorted the Miss Wong, the timekeeper, out instead of arresting them, and they felt that Miss Wong should be arrested as she was the cause of the fellow Indian guy death, their fellow mate death. And another is their culture and psychological element, which is back in their home country, this is a form of street justice and a form of culture of heroism for them. That's why they go on to a riot. And next, the most important contribution factors would be the consumption of alcohol. Alcohol intoxications will lead to increase of aggressions. Therefore, a lot of them, they become more aggressive and they do not really know what they are doing. Like the next day when they are interviewed, many of them can't remember, or they say that they just follow blindly the person in front doing. Yeah. So the next one will be, how does our home affairs personnel handle the situation? During the riot, the police officer at scene facing lots of significant communication problems. Therefore, they hinder the arrival of SOC, and when they arrive, the troops are brought into a wrong place, which is not the main scene of the whole event. And for the commanding officer, he chose to hold the line, as he said that he had lack of information to the whole situation. So he find that he have lack of officer on the ground, and it's life-threatening for them to handle the situation straight away. So his decision is for all his officers to hold the line outside of the perimeter of the riot before the SOC arrived. And our COI finding is, they felt that by holding the line, it encourages the riot to prolong and more damages is being done. And they also, after viewing through all the video footage and the evidence, they felt that we have more than sufficient officers in the ground, and it's not really life-threatening enough. And they feel that the officer should go in and start to arrest the riot at that point of time. Yeah. And they conclude that the commanding officer should instruct his officer to collect more information on the situation, and he should do it himself. I will now pass on to Xiaoxi to talk more about what the commanding officer do, and communicate. Agnes or Agnes.
So the polling were used by the commanders with his subordinates, the radio sets, phone calls, and face-to-face. However, all communication mediums failed due to the chaotic nature of the riot. It was impossible to communicate with radio sets due to the commotion at the scene. As the situation got increasingly chaotic, ASP Tang sensed the need to activate the Special Operation Command, which is the SOC. Hence, he tried to contact the E Division Operation Room to activate the SOC. But both phone calls and radio sets had failed him. Thankfully, ASP Tang received a call from SSI Neo from the E Division Operation Room, who was also unable to contact ASP Tang through the radio. Things took a turn for the worse. Radio sets were totally jammed during the second phase of the riot. They had to search for area for stranded officers to coordinate the operations. So the commanders PC Raymond and Staff Sergeant Nadine on the scene already knew about the deceased body, which was pinned under the rear left wheel of the bus. However, they failed to inform the SCDF officers who first arrived in the Red Rhino of the crucial information. The SCDF officers were focused on rescuing the people trapped in the bus and did not proceed to extricate the body until Corporal Muhammad was pulled away by a worker gesturing at the rear left wheel of the bus. Only then did they realize a body was pinned under the bus. Those who had arrived at the scene should have informed about their identity and location as to establish a better communication. And with the body extricated and the people trapped in the bus rescued, LTNU decided that the SCDF officers should leave the scene after they have completed their mission, which she should not have made this decision as the commotion was ongoing and it was evident that there was a lack of officers at the scene. No one was able to give an estimate figure of the officers involved and their condition despite being on the ground. In particular, DAC Lu was neither able to determine the amount of officers at the scene nor the amount of injured personnel. The situation was assessed by DAC Lu. He estimated that the total number of riots to be in the range of 50 to 60, and he decided to hold the position with the SPF officers who are waiting for the SOC troops to arrive. He made a wrong estimation on the arrival of the SOC troops. The riot raged on, 6 vehicles were flipped and 4 were burned, with an additional vehicle sustaining fire damage from a neighboring burning vehicle. The SOC troops were held up by the traffic, and when they had finally arrived in force, it was too late to prevent the overturning and burning of the vehicles. And lastly, the fastest route to the scene was not being able to be communicated to Police Tactical Team (PTTK), and no direct communication or coordination was established between PTTK and the SPF officers that were on the site. This detour wasted 15 minutes due to the heavy traffic and multiple traffic junctions. Now I'll pass on to Tiam Sing.
Okay, so I'll be presenting on what the commanders can do to better improve the coordination between the commanders and the subordinate. So what happened on that day was that DAC Lu was stationed behind a show of policemen doing nothing while waiting for the SOC to come. What could have done better is to set up a SPF command post and reporting station. This command post will let the newly arrived officer together and get updates on what to do, and at the same time also let the officer on the ground to report situation updates. By doing so, it helps to improve the communication, sharing of information, and establish clear command. Next, any requests have to be sent through the SPF Combined Operation Room. The SPF Combined Operation Room acts as a middleman to relay message between DAC Lu and DSP Lim, which is the officer in charge of SOC troop. So this back and forth calling causes crucial time lag. Instead, what can be done better is to speak directly with DSP Lim to determine the location and updates on the police tactical team. Next, to activate SOC, it requires 2 levels of authorization. Firstly, a request by commander on the ground and concurred by a key officer in the land division. And secondly, approval from the director of operation. These 2 levels of authorization cost them 20 minutes to fully activate the SOC from the time of request. What can be done better is to devolve power to the division commander, which is DAC Lu on that day. Because he is on the ground, he has a better idea on what's happening and if SOC should be activated to contain the situation. Lastly, DAC Lu instruction for the police tactical team resulted in the police tactical team being caught in more traffic. So, this, as you can see from the map, this red dot is the estimate position of the police tactical team, and the affected area that require more reinforcement is around this area. However, at this point, if the police tactical team turn in to Race Course Road, it will brought them directly to the destruction area that was the area that is affected. However, DAC Lu requests the SOC to meet him at the Hampshire Road because he is located there. This trip to Hampshire Road resulted in more delay of the arrival of the SOC due to the traffic. What can be done better is to know for DAC Lu to know the overall situation and give clear instruction on the deployment of SOC. So these are the few pointers that the commander can do better to improve the coordination between the commanders and the subordinates. Next, I will touch on the quick summary on our presentation. So the situation escalated because of misunderstanding, cultural psychology, and alcohol. And what can be done better is on the communication side and the decision of the ground commander. And some recommendations are to set up a SPF command post and reporting station, direct communication between commanders, cutting layers of approval for resource activation, and establish clear and effective commands. So what can we learn from this riot? We should never take things for granted. Everyone thought that Singapore is a very safe country and riot is unlikely to happen. However, this Little India riots happened. And even though the SPF contained it swiftly and efficiently, we can see that there are a lot of areas we can improve on. So we should not take things for granted and always prepare for the worst. With that, I will end off our presentation. Thank you.
Are we going to ask questions?
We're waiting for you to finish up.
Because anyway, it's being recorded, so I'll be able to.
So can you have any questions? Do you guys have any questions for us?
You said that during the main channel for communication is using radio. So do you know exactly what causes the radio to be jammed so that they can't use the radio for communication?
Because there's limited band of frequency that the radio set can use. So when there is a lot of people using it, it will jam it up. The band of frequency is not enough for everyone to concurrently using it. So that this caused the jam of the radio set.
And to add on, in the chaotic situation where everyone was panicking to establish communication with everyone, so actually some of them were actually quite desperate in their attempts to hook onto someone to try to communicate, hence the radios were jammed up. So, thank you. Can I have the next question, please?
In your earlier slides, you mentioned that the police didn't use tear gas, no shots fired, and things like that. Do you think that they should have used some form of violence in order to disperse the crowd so that their people won't get hurt and the members of the public won't get hurt?
Because during that situation, the police officer he do not know who to shoot at, because everyone is throwing stuff at them, but then they don't know who's the main culprit. So who to catch and who to shoot at, that's their main concern for the commanding officer.
And to add on, I believe everybody will agree on this, that the Singapore Police Force isn't actually really prepared well enough for a situation like this. We are very complacent, we take our peace for granted. Hence, we cannot rule out the fact that they didn't know exactly what to do. Yep.
Do you think that instead of being complacent, it could be just that they're trying to be safe? You know? because they have never handled such a situation before. Do you really think it's because they are complacent, or is it because they are more cautious about it?
Because like during that interview with the commanding officer, from his point of view is him being safe, but from the COI point of view is he should do something. So it's really the personal opinion thing. Yeah. Is the commanding officer being safe? He chose to be safe. He said that he don't know what to do. He don't have the whole situation picture, so he don't want to choose not to act on it first. Yeah.
It could be because he's concerned about the safety of his men.
I think in one of your slides, right, you mentioned that one of the reasons that caused the crisis was due to cultural psychology. Is that right?
Yeah.
Could you explain a little bit more what you mean by cultural psychology?
Because like back in their country where there's where they don't have a very good police force, and when this situation happen, their citizens tend to straight away show street justice on the ground itself instead of calling police, or they straight away show their violence, or they use violence to show it's a culture of heroism.
So it's a bit different. Like they like to settle their own problem themselves instead of like seeking help from like police or like.
Since their country, their police is not that efficient.
Like recently, there are some events in India where we can see a boy being beaten up on the streets, where the citizens actually took justice in their own hands to met out their punishment. So we believe it's the case of the cultural differences in Singapore, whereby we just call police for anything.
Cultural difference in how they handle a situation like
Crisis, really.
an accident or a crisis. So what's your general opinion about how the Singapore police force or the armed forces handled the crisis? Because it has been so many years since a riot actually took place in Singapore. Right? I think the last riot was in the late 1960s, am I right? Yeah, and then there was no more, right? And then suddenly we have this riot in India. So what's your personal opinion about how it was handled by the police force?
Firstly, we think that it was handled really well, as stated at the page. We stated in the facts that the entire riot was actually dispersed relatively quickly. It was contained in a small area, and lastly, there wasn't any shots, nor tear gas, nor water cannons used. So we believe that it was actually handled really well, despite not using any water cannons to control the violence in the area.
But to add on, but I feel that the police force is still like inexperienced because in like 4 decades they never have experienced any like riots before. So that because of the inexperience, they don't know. They forget to bring like mass communication device to like disperse the innocent public, and all these minor factors that will cause a slight delay of the whole situation containment. Yeah, so what I feel is that the SPF is quite inexperienced and in containing it, even though they have like a backbone on what they should do, but it can be more as in it can be better. Yeah.
So lack of training, can you say that you don't have enough training in handling such large-scale crisis in Singapore?
I would not say training, I would say experience. It's a more of an experience thing.
But don't you think you need some kind of a training?
Maybe more drills.
Yeah, like terrorism. I think now Singapore has more drills on countering terrorist attacks, right?
Yeah, because I think it's like what we really think will happen, then we will train our troops towards that. We don't really, I believe that the police force don't really think riot will occur, so the situation training might be different when time to time, yeah. That's why maybe they did not really train on the riot side. Yeah.
So in your opinion, what do you think the armed forces could do better in order to handle or to foresee such cases in the future? Because it cannot be assumed that there will not be any more riots in Singapore. What do you think they could do?
I think they should actually learn from overseas maybe not the way they handle the situation, but maybe about overseas occurrence where there are so many riots. Where we did our research, we researched on the 10 worst riots that happened over the time, as I said earlier. So all these situations occurs overseas. They may not use the right way to handle the situation, but I feel that there's a lot of things we can learn from them. Such as maybe some of the factors that actually trigger the riots. Like in USA, previously, not now, racism was a serious issue there, and we have a lot of racial riots. So that could be one of the factors that we could learn that will trigger the riots. And sometimes during elections there will be riots overseas, like in Kenya, the Nairobi riots and all. And the consequences that happen in Singapore is actually pretty minor compared to overseas. Yeah, whereby I was quite shocked myself to see that there was actually rape cases during riots. I was expecting more of people being torched by fire, or maybe someone just being killed there. So yeah, we do not want this to happen in Singapore. So I personally feel that we should learn from overseas occurrence.
But what exactly can we learn? I guess the question is if you want to be able to better mitigate the problem, right? So what are some of the specific actions you think the armed forces can implement, or the approach that they can take to better handle possible future riots in Singapore?
Actually, for the COI, they have accepted 8 recommendations for this leader to learn from this leader in the riot. One of it is to improve the communication device or this, having a priority protocol or this, so that they can comms on the radio more efficiently, training more manpower, and
better manpower deployment, is it?
they want to increase the manpower, and also because before this riot, what happened is that there's this, what we mentioned, the SOC, they are mainly focused on the riots that side, and SPS police, is just patrolling all this. So now what they want to do is to train all these SPF personnel to have at least the basic knowledge on how to counter this type of situation. So it's a basic knowledge, and
just a couple of them give me the long recommendations. I just wanted to know what possibly could be done in the future. Any other questions from the floor? Oh, so many of them.
After this incident, right, so some Singaporeans are afraid to go to Little India again. So some measures, because one of the problems is alcohol, right? So some measures taken is the alcohol ban. So what do you think of this? Or should there be more effective measures?
I think the alcohol ban is a useful one, because one of the main contribution factors that most of them they really don't remember, or at the point of time they are just high purely following the crowd to themselves. So yeah, by cutting down the alcohol and by dispersing them earlier will decrease the chance of this kind of thing happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, can I check? Because you speak about a lot of special or the police force or the SOC that are being deployed, but you all never mentioned about the Gurkhas. During the Little India riots, the Gurkhas are also being deployed. Do they play a significant role in the riot this year?
Actually, the Gurkhas, it's like the SOC. They all work together to contain the situation. Yeah, so I would say they play a significant role because additional manpower will definitely increase the efficiency of containing the situation. Yeah.
Actually, going back to this Gurkha troops, it's quite interesting because they've actually been around for a really long time in Singapore, right? Since even before the 1969 riot, right? Because in the past, Singapore probably don't have a lot of manpower. But now, I suppose Singapore is a larger population. But it's still interesting to see that the Gurkhas are still around. So can you give some comments about what these Gurkhas are for? Why are they still here?
Buy them to
Considered
protect
foreign
us.
workers, right? Aren't they foreign workers?
Buy them to protect us. That's from
Nepal.
That's how
But
they.
we have national service.
I have a Nepalese friend back during my poly days. Here are some of the insights he shared with me. Firstly, he claimed to be a super soldier. He claimed to be a super soldier. The elites.
So they are the elites from Nepal. Oh.
Yeah.
So we sort of like poach all the elites so that
Must
they
be
don't
more
have
foreign
enough
talent.
people
Yeah.
to have their own.
Not foreign talent. Gurkhas is like everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But
yes,
Muslims,
like in
Muslim, as long as you pay them, they will come.
yeah, they will pay you from
And they are very
They will
loyal.
serve your
As long as you
Are
keep
they
it
like
up.
are they from a particular clan or something like that?
No, they from Nepal.
I know they're Nepalese, but are they from like, I thought just like in India they got different castes, right? And different castes would have a different profession. So are the Gurkhas also from a particular like a caste?
No, but most of them, the guys would actually go for this special force. And then if they are selected to be the elite, then they will carry out their duty. And also they will be deployed by their country to whichever country they want to go. For there is in Pulau Tekong also. Wow, inside.
So even the national, the NS men are protected by Gurkhas.
If you look at the center of our NSF, you will know why.
You cannot compare Gurkhas
concerned.
and
Yeah.
No, but they are actually not offered citizenship. At the end of their stay, I think it's 40 years old, they'll be sent back to Nepal. So they are hired as long as they are fit enough.
But I'm just wondering why do we still need them when we have our own army?
Actually, every country need them.
Is that right? They are all over the place.
Yeah, they are in law.
They protect the British, they
See
protect
that
the Americans.
They are very loyal.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ask them to guard a place, even if it means dying by bitten by ants to death or anything, they will just stay there until they die.
Yes.
It's in the news.
Yeah, it's
The ant bite the Gurkha until he died, but he was still in his position.
Where is this? Which country?
Yes,
Okay. Sorry for sidetracking. Anybody else has questions? Huh? Anyone else has a question to ask? That's all?
Actually, I have a question. You mentioned about the inexperience of the SPF, right, the Singapore Police Force. But don't you think that SPF also has limitation in handling riot situations? Because in Singapore context, only SOC is given not the opportunity, given the rights to actually deal with riots. So your statement about where SPF is inexperienced, I mean, can you explain why is it inexperienced? Because they will have very limited conditions for them to deal with riots.
When we read the report, right, actually there's phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 1 is actually handled pretty well. And phase 2, right, there's some, like, what the COI thinks that is that some decision from DSU, right, can actually help to reduce the impact of the riots. Like, instead of holding the line, they can go, like, to charge on, like, to disperse the rioters. They are not arresting them, but they can disperse it so that the force is smaller, as in the rioters' force will be much smaller, so that when they reach or what, you will like able to arrest them faster and more efficiently. Yeah. Then just the decision of the DSU will make a difference in the efficiency of the arresting when the SOC come. Yeah.
So it's not the SPCF inexperienced.
But they are inexperienced. Like when such thing happen, they can actually do that, but they don't know if they should do that or they should care for the safety of their subordinates. That's why, if like they know, maybe if I go to like charge at them, maybe it will be more effective. Yeah, if like they know that if there is a riot last time and they know that time they charged and it helps the situation to contain faster, they will. The next time they have a riot, they will definitely go charge at them again. Yeah, that's why like this experience play a part.
The inexperience is not saying they are not good, it's just they never really been through it. So even if you read from a textbook, you must been through it, then you will have the experience itself.
I think what they mean is practical application was not available in Singapore for the last
40 years.
more than 40 years, right? head knowledge. I mean, most of us have the head knowledge, but the head knowledge will not be sufficient if you don't put it into practice. That's why you all need to work, right? Otherwise, there's no point having the degrees.
Do we have more riots?